Welcome to This Week in Pulling, the show that brings you all the action from the world of tractor and truck pulling. I'm Dan Mayer, joined by Jeremy and Miles Krieger, and each week we'll dive into the latest highlights, breaking news, and behind-the-scenes stories from the sport we all love. From upcoming events, standout performances, and the rich history that shaped pulling into what it is today, we've got you covered. So buckle up, This Week in Pulling starts now.
Well, welcome back. We've got a special edition here. This Week of Pulling is we've got for feature week here every week for the next 6 weeks. We're going to feature on Full Pull Live, different classes. And this week has been super stock diesel tractors. And guys, they want our expert opinions. So here we go. We've got our expert opinions on who we think will be the 2026 super stock diesel champions. Guys, let's get rolling with this. Let's see what we can come up with. And I can tell you point blank, I'm no expert, but we'll give it a shot.
Well, and I was going to say the first thing you don't want to do is ask me. That's not going to work. But anyway, we'll see where we go with this.
So, I mean, who would like to go first here? Maybe we'll start with who to look for. How about we start the who to look for, and then we'll go into our predictions for who you think the champion will be.
No, I think that's a good idea and a good starting point. I think there are probably 4 or 5 names that I think are just kind of resonating in my mind of talking points. And the first one's obviously Colin and Jody and what they've done and how they've been. They have been incredibly tough. In multiple championships, 5, I think, in tune now to Colin's credit, and continue to do really good things there. And so they continue to sort of set the curve for the consistency and for going out and running. Brandon Hunt proved over the course of the summer of 2025 that he could go and fight and contend there. But Brandon's biggest problem historically is he can't run a full Grand National circuit. So, is he able to get to some of those events, the Hutch, the Toma, those sorts of events that are early on the schedule for 2025 or 2026 Evansville? That'll be another early hook. I don't know if Brandon can make that. And so because of that, I don't know that he finds his way into for that points championship like that tractor potentially could. I'm not going to bring up the other one Jeremy and I had open discussion about. I'll let Jeremy have that discussion here in just a minute. But obviously, I think you have to talk about Kent and Sandy as well. And I think Kent and Sandy have just proven with that Super Rooster that they are going to continually be there and be in the hunt as it is. So, Travis and his Bone Twister team, they are tough, and they have been continually tough. They just have to be able to get all the longevity they need out of their parts, I guess, to make everything run. Because what's happening is everybody's fighting so hard right now just to try to stay up in the front that they might miss a hook here, miss a hook there with some sort of breakage, or in the points race, it costs you a lot. And unfortunately, that's been, some of the things we've experienced with that over the years as well. So, I'll highlight those. And then obviously there's a few others we can talk about for sure.
You go ahead, Dan. I don't want to step on your toes either.
No, you're not stepping on anything. I'm gonna go a different route than Miles. Miles mentioned, the champions here the last few years, and I'm gonna go on the newer side of things. You talk about Adam Bauer running last year for the first time in the super stock class. I mean, a 12-time Grand National champion. I mean, he knows how to get it done. So I would look for him to be, rumor has it he's gone to school here this past winter or this off season and really putting a concerted effort in here to learning the diesels. I mean, here's a spark plug guy that has had so much success over the years. And, you talk, minis, modifieds, unlimiteds, you name it, he's done it. And so I'd look for, Adam to really, be right there in the mix when the season rolls along. You also, you can't rule out Kyle Holland. Excellent year, finished off the year with a win. There's a guy that is going to be right there in the mix. And then, of course, Doug Meisinger. Doug had just absolutely a terrible season last year with parts breakage and everything else. didn't get a whole lot of time on the tracks, but he was at a lot of the tracks last year. And I think that just seeing the events and, seeing the tracks and stuff, I think that's hopefully they got that gremlin and that monkey off their back. And I'd look for Scrappy to be right there in the mix as well. So that's what I'd say the who to watch on my side of things. How about you, Jeremy?
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of stole my thunder, but that's okay. I figured, we had to talk about it. Tornado Revived, I think, had an unbelievable, tail end of 2025. And that tractor is just a sight to behold. It's beautiful. I think they're figuring things out. And I think if he chases the entire circuit, then that's when you have to, really, really consider in terms of, competitiveness next year. I think he finishes third this year, off of a very solid effort. And I feel like if they are focusing and they can hold that thing together and they aren't, in the hunt for parts, then that orange one's going to be in the mix next year. But I think also, to Miles's point, it all depends on where the Rosses go. If the Rosses are going to stay, in the smoker class and not go into the unlimited like it's been discussed, then I think you definitely have to consider them again. Many time repeat champion Kenton Sandy Payne are in the mix. Schlaubal's in the mix. And maybe Schultz comes in place. They had a solid run with the Remedy. I know they're still working on trying to figure that thing out. But again, you can't. This is anybody's race at this point. Bauer's, another one to talk about. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. But my money's on orange next year. Give it to Kyle Holland. I think he's going to be the one that moves the needle the most.
I also think you talk
ahead,
about, Peterson has been a guy who has proven he can win. And the sad thing is oftentimes, shortly after a successful win or a great event, then, we find a weak link again. And so, but that tractor can go out and win, and it's
absolutely
proven that. So, when you really truly factor in the last 2 or 3 years of who has won hooks on the Grand National circuit in the Superstock diesel category, there's really only about 5 or so names, 6 names that would find their way onto that list. And Roger Peterson is one of those names. And he's on there multiple times.
For sure.
So let's give him his flowers as well. You start talking about a plan, and I think there's plenty of opportunity for us to look at this class and think, maybe 2 years ago, we would have had a conversation about the momentum of this class kind of starting to slow. But
Right.
I think in 2025, that needle was switched a little bit and the dial was turned a little bit, and the momentum started to come back. Numbers started to increase. And, there are people like John Bell fans who have proven they can go out and run, but he doesn't run a full Grand National circuit. So when you see him at a Chapel Hill, you see him at a Bowling Green, you immediately count him as a threat in there. But if we're looking at the points championship, there's only, 4 or 5 or 6 tractors we really can consider in that game.
Well, and I think maybe, as always, you kind of have to look at Steve Burge too. Like maybe, maybe he's top 10 this year. But, again, if they all hold together and they're not looking for parts and things are where they need to be, then this is literally a 10-horse race. So, I mean, but I think you do look at Peterson, you do look at Steve Burge, as potential contenders. It's all just going to depend. And who knows? I mean, maybe the King of Smoke comes back and runs some, like it all depends on what Esden's going to do. I know he's limited, he's healing up, and he's not really concentrating on running a full, NTPA Grand National circuit. But if he does, he's the King of Smoke. You can't ignore him.
Yeah. He's not a 6-time, Grand National champion in this class for no reason. I mean, it just, the parts breakage here the last few years for that team has just been absolutely brutal. And, you talk about the Blagraves as well, what's on their, I mean, so really, like Miles says, you look at the big scope of things. I mean, it wide open.
Yeah, things are alive and well, and that's wonderful. I think it's great. Just a few years ago, there were some deep concerns about this class potentially being on life support and what was going to happen, and they breathed new life into it, and I think that's wonderful, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, one of the the original classes with the NTPA, and like you say, everybody was kind of concerned with the numbers. Last year, they averaged the most tractors they've had, I want to say, in this particular decade. I mean, we have to go back to 18, 19 to find this many tractors at these events. And, everybody, you always hear the negative things about, I mean, and they really, if you truly look at things the last couple of years, they really haven't been all rosy,
Right.
but this past year, things have really just have gone in the good direction for this class. And now hopefully we don't overbook this class where they have so many hooks and we start, tearing equipment up. And, that's the concerns you got to look at is, how many is, we talked about that on our show, how many events is too many, and that's where we're going to, have to go. But yeah, you can't rule out the King of Smoke and the Bladegraves. That's definitely, two guys that, two teams that are, hopefully Bladegraves went on their European vacation last year and had a chance to see them at the end of the season there at Sandwich. And, they're ready to go back at it. And hopefully, we'll see some great things there out of the team out of Texas.
Absolutely. But again, I think it all just comes down to who has the best, most consistent finishes, who makes the most hooks, and whose parts don't break. I mean, you need a lot of luck in the game, but you need to have a great tractor too. And I think it's going to be very difficult for us to predict one over another here. But I do think between all of the ones we've discussed today, we've got it covered.
Yeah.
You just described winning a points championship in every class.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Absolutely.
So as far as new entries for this class, have heard that the Stray Horse Gone Wild will be back on the circuit next year. Now, as to how many events they're going to make, not sure, but I would look for them to at least make the northern events, Hutchinson, Toma, sure, the events up there in the northern part of the United States. But yeah, that's great to hear that tractor coming back. But other than that, as far as, new builds and everything else, we'll have to wait and see what's coming down the pike for that.
Absolutely.
So guys, it's that time. who are we going to go with for your Grand National Champion for 2026? Who are we going to? Obviously, we're Thanksgiving time. We're a long way away from the beginning of the season, but it'd be interesting to see how our predictions hold up here come a year from now,
or how much they don't.
Or they don't. Right, exactly, because like they say, yeah.
It's completely speculative because I don't know the schedule yet, and because I don't know what the diesel schedule is versus what the Superstock Open schedule is versus what the dates are going to look like and how many hooks there are going to be. But, I feel like it's a no-brainer to have that conversation and not have the Rosses in contention and think about that. I mean, I think the most natural gravitation in that whole idea is if they do commit and they do run a points circuit, I think Triple Bypass is your favorite. I think it's got the largest target on the back. I think that target's pretty sizable. And I think if they can continue to have, if you think about 2025 and their body of work, that's the most runs I think they've put on the tractor, yes. And it's certainly the best longevity they've ever had out of that tractor. I mean, don't get me wrong, they did have to do, a couple times where they would work on tear down and get that tractor back together. But at the end of the day, 2025 was a statement in the sense of I think they figured out how to make the tractor run and light and have some absolutely impressive passes, one of which you saw in the Superstock Open class at Fort Recovery. That was just
massive,
wicked, just unbelievable. So, let's think about that. And then you name contenders and maybe Jeremy's onto something with Kyle Holland and the Holland brothers. And obviously I'll throw Kent and Sandy in there again as well.
All right, Jeremy.
Well, and for me, again, it's going to come down to where the Rosses go. If the Rosses go diesel super, then I think you're a fool not to look at Triple Bypass based on his complete body of work. However, if that doesn't happen, or even if it does, my second choice and the one I'm most impressed with right now is none other than Kyle Holland. Like that tractor is. I just love it. Like it is a wonderful sight to behold. They've done some great things with it. It was very impressive to look at last summer. And I feel like if they have the winter to really, figure it out, it could be, we could be looking at the Grand National Championship if they run it. Like I say, I don't know about the farm. I don't know what their plans are. But again, if they chase points, given that, where they were this season, I look for them to do great things, and that's who I would pick.
Okay. And, looking at, same kind of deal. I mean, with Ross's, if they do run the class, I mean, like you say, you'd be a fool not to pick them. I would have to say, look for, Travis Schlaubaugh, the Bone Twister team for next year.
Okay.
They went out and they've tried something, pretty radical this past year. And we saw at the end of the year started to come together for Travis and the team. I'm going to go with the Bone Twister for 2026 for my prediction. Obviously, we've also got, Kyle Holland out there with the, his team, Adam Bauer as well with that John Deere. So, that I'm going to go with that one for 2026. We'll see the Bone Twister, see if he can get back into that, get back up there and pick up championship number 3 for him.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. We'll do it again here. We got some more feature weeks coming up here in a couple weeks, and obviously, like I say, we're just the guys watching, guys talking about it, but it's pretty neat to go ahead and try to obviously predict the future. If we did that, we'd be all bazillionaires, and but that was fun.
Well, and the Powerball is 549 million this week, just in case you all were.
I thought it was over 6. I thought we went over 6 there. Yeah, maybe
it changed since the last couple of days, but get your Powerball ticket, and then you can be rich and horrible at making tractor pulling picks, like me.
Very cool, guys. Well, it was fun. We'll see everybody back. Of course, make sure you check us out every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock This Week in Pulling, as we'll be back with episode 37. But this little special edition here, part of Feature Week here with Full Pull Live, and just kind of giving our predictions, what we think is going to happen in 2026 with the Superstock Diesel class. We'll see everybody next week.